Good day, folks, and it is once again hijacking time with 50% less murder. We're on a diet around here. Now, one of the most important choices you make in a Pokemon game has to do with...
Hey, Ari?
How dare you interrupt me while I'm stealing your channel and pretending you're dead, darling?
Well, sorry, honey. This box arrived at our door, and I don't remember ordering anything recently.
Oh, yay! My new light fixture from Pottery Barn is here.
New light fixture? But we don't... Oh, come on, honey. You didn't.
Didn't what?
Yep, you did. Okay, yeah, I'm out.
Ah, my special ordered Wambu chandelier!
I really need to stop going to Pottery Barn. Every time I do, they mistake me for one of the products.
I mean, they do suck out your soul anyways. You just do it literally.
So, Pokemon.
Yes, starters. Those things. Big important. Let's do that. One of the most important choices you make in a Pokemon game is which starter you decide to go with. Whether you keep the same one throughout your adventure or slit its throat and throw it in the PC in a Nuzlocke, the starter you choose often shapes the rest of your gameplay experience.
They say you never forget your first. Obviously, this saying applies to Pokemon and no other context.
David Tennant, what?
Because of this, experiences greatly vary from player to player. Even after around 25 years, there's still no definitive consensus on which starters are the best. If we're talking competitively, then maybe, but when it comes to which ones are the most, correct to like, the jury is still out on that one. I don't know, just like what you like based on whatever. Design, typing, use in battle, it can be multiple factors, honestly.
Except for the anime, that's off limits. And honestly, this is a compromised collaborative tier list, just like I did with the rivals, that is completely definitive. Do not challenge!
Ari.
Discussion is welcome because everyone has opinions just like they have armpits.
Our opinions are the right ones, though.
You're my best frickin' friend!
So how about we start this here list by paying respects?
An F in the chat for the, as Tree's Apprentice put it oh so long ago, living, breathing bacon. Hungry, Womboy?
Is that the only starter that made our F tier?
Yep.
I feel kinda bad.
Don't.
Okay, I know Ari and I have definitely broken some hearts with this, but being real, Tepig has been my least favorite starter for quite some time now, and it's not just because it's the third firefighting type we got in a row, though that definitely did not help.
Aside from being a non-kosher furnace of flab, the Tepig line just didn't do anything special with being a fiery pig. It just put flames on a piece of ham and made it look angry. Look at Blaziken and Infernape. Blaziken looks like it should be firefighting, almost like a jujitsu artist or kickboxer with flames coming out of its wrists and feet. And Infernape has sort of the Taekwondo Bruce Lee sort of vibe with the flames coming out of its head. Emboar, he's firefighting because he's fat? A porky sumo wrestler that fell on the barbecue? Come on, guys, do better.
And it's not like he brings a particularly distinct fighting style either. I actually am a fan of bulky hard hitters, but so many of Emboar's best moves have pretty painful drawbacks like lowered stats or recoil. And when there's plenty of other Pokemon out there that don't constantly cripple the offensive and tank part of offensive tank, I just don't get much out of the Searing Swine.
The Smoldering Sow.
The Blazing Boar.
The Hellfire Hog!
The Toasty Truffle Sniffer.
We need to get out more.
Yeah, we do.
Alright, who wants a taste of Dis D?
What?
D tier. And there's only one again, so Dis D.
That's not what that means.
It doesn't? What does it mean?
Anyway, unlike our last entry, neither of us really dislike this guy. We just don't have any positive feelings on him either.
Tell me! Is there a book that says what it means?
Ari, look, a monkey!
Where? Oh, man! I thought it was a cute monkey, but nope, we got the one that turns into an egg halfway through its evolution. And it's not the only one that does it! Tepig does too!
Maybe it's a secret club. The Egg Club.
Anyways, Illumineggy or not, Grookey is... It feels like his archetype has been done before. Hard-hitting physical grass type? Oh, hi, Sceptile. Tanky with stat or recovery moves? Yo, what's up, Meganium? Flashy special move? Decidueye called, he has two! So what does Grookey bring to the party?
An incomplete drum kit and Jess Harnell's hair?
Yeah, just about.
We're being a little unfair, admittedly. Rillaboom is actually a very strong Pokemon competitively, and it's currently showing up on a number of top competitive teams, but I personally just never got attached to this thing much. I really feel like most of the grass starters that came before it, while maybe not stronger, definitely had more interesting and experimental concepts overall. Seriously, a Brontosaurus hibiscus, a ranger owl, and a goddamn continental turtle? Comparatively, Rillaboom just feels kinda boring.
Yeah, not bad, but Donkey Kong over here just didn't really do it for us. Wait a minute! That's what the D means! Donkey Kong!
Yep, correct. Have a cookie.
Yay! Nom, 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 nom. Now, here is where it starts getting tricky, because all of the rest of the tiers have multiple entries. We are going to talk about them in generation order, so if you don't see Rowlet right away, calm your movies, we'll get there. And if two in the same generation are on the same tier, we'll go by the Pokedex. Grass, fire, water. Like the Avatar cycle.
I don't know this uncultured swine, I swear. This is also the point in the list where Ari and I start to have more disparities between our two opinions. The bottom spots were easy to agree on, but this whole middle section will definitely have instances where one of us goes up to bat for a Pokemon that the other doesn't much care for. Some call it compromise.
While others...
Including me.
Oh, okay. Anything else we need to address?
Nah, I think we can cut to the chase.
Oh, okay. Then I see where you're going with this.
Stop.
Started at F in the chat.
Ah, touche. In spite of being the first water type we're talking about on the list, neither of us dislike Squirtle by any means.
Water is usually my go-to type for starters, honestly, and Squirtle is a good example of what they're capable of. Great defenses, hard-hitting moves once the physical special split happened, and a pretty boss design once Blastoise comes along. I especially love the Mega Evolution and the Gigantamax forms, but Squirtle kind of gets shafted because, well, he's competing against Bulbasaur, who I love and we'll get to him later, and Charmander, the starter darling that everyone loves and won't shut up about.
Oh, are we talking about Charmander? I love Charmander. He's a good lizard boy.
Shut up and pass the salt, please.
In all seriousness, though, the Squirtle line is generally very solid.
Solid like a shell.
I'll kill you. For real, though, their stats across the board are all pretty balanced. Nothing too great, but nothing too bad either. And with a move pool that has plenty of attack coverage, alongside decent utility, it's a perfectly reliable Pokemon to bring on board. It just doesn't wow us like some of the Pokemon that ended up higher on this tier list. It makes a bangin' turtle soup, though.
Wambu!
What?
Don't eat the turtle!
I'm gonna eat the turtle!
No!
Oh, wait, shit, I don't have a mouth.
Ha! Besides, it's not properly spiced with chicory. Ta!
Go to the corner!
Yes, the little mountain of green Play-Doh with a leaf on top and a cute necklace is next on our list. Personally, I love this little wad of chewing gum. She's so cute and pretty, and I just want to smush her, but oh god help you if you went into Gen 2 blind with this thing. Chikorita was hard mode for gold, silver, and crystal.
Unfortunately, the first two gyms in those games say no rights for small green lumps. But if you make it over that threshold and steer clear of price, Chikorita is still a fairly viable Pokemon. Plus, it's just an endearing little cutie. Its stats overall are very similar to the Squirtle line, with a little more focus on status and support in its move pool that proved more helpful in later generations. Once again, it's a bit on the standard side, both in concept and in battle, but it still has its charm. I won't deny that.
So it decreases your attack by 2 stages?
I mean, yeah, but I'm a special attacker anyway.
You win this round, Torchy boy.
We're doing grass really dirty so far.
But grass comes from the dirt. It's pretty natural for it to be dirty, isn't it?
You're thinking way too hard about this.
Generation 3's Trico was never my favorite, but that may be because I always picked Mudkip and May or Brendan wrecked my face every single time I met them. It was the first speedy grass type and perhaps the one that did it best, but if I may be biased for a second, the design kind of went downhill after Grovyle. That is one oogly gecko septile.
F off, I like it. The Trico line is overall pretty dope to me. For one of the first speed-oriented grass starters, it looks properly imposing and ready for battle. For the most part, it does its job pretty effectively, too. It's got a damn good offensive move pool, and the Unburden ability it got in Gen 5 helps it crank up that speed even more. Only real disappointment I have with it, personally, is that it's the only monotype starter to come out of Gen 3. Other than that, this thing is cool.
But put the jingle bells on its back.
Let it go.
At least we're done with the C-tier grass types, right?
You're kidding me.
Ah, Snake!
That why you don't like Snivy? Is that why you don't like Snivy?
It's not that I don't like Snivy. It's fine. It's well designed. I just get the heebie-jeebies around it, and I don't want to be near it. Please, God, take it away. Oshawott, save me! It's better than the bacon, but...
Well, speaking as someone who personally kind of likes snakes, the Snivy line is another one that I think is pretty rad. I especially love how Serperior has this very royal, but not at all posh demeanor.
It's balanced stat-wise, but that may be part of its problem. It's almost too balanced everywhere except speed. Which means that it's a fast boy who can only do okay-ish damage and only take a couple of hits. It's not stellar, but it's not bad by any means. Again, better than the bacon.
If anything, the real game changer here is the contrary ability, which makes an otherwise stat debuffing move like Leaf Storm increase its stats instead. Get enough of those off and Serperior will start hitting really hard. The only problem is that it's got a notably limited offensive move pool, and Grass isn't even a very good offensive type. Most competitive Serperior builds are super similar, but hey, at least it does its one thing pretty well.
Can we stop with this, Nick? Please? Anything else? Oh, goody! A fox! Foxes eat snakes! Yes, Queen McGonagall, slay!
Isn't that a little overkill? So have you guys heard of this thing called Fennekin? It looks like Ari and I are flipping the script this time, because I'm personally not very fond of the Fennekin line. The Fire Psychic typing is cool, but in terms of its stats and move pool, it just felt very by the numbers. I like what Gen 6 did with its starters, giving them all fantasy class aesthetics, with Delphox being the mage of the group, but I don't think it followed all too gracefully from Fennekin, and ultimately, I was just kinda disappointed.
And I get that. I'm not going to sit here and fib and say I think Delphox has the greatest design, but in context, the Fennekin line was a breath of fresh air. After 3 generations of physical fire types, finally we got a viable special sweeper with 2 of the best offensive special types. I mean, yes, Delphox is pretty freaking useless against Greninja, but against most of the other trainers you meet along the way, Delphox can be a powerhouse. However, there is one big downside. Its move pool. Holy balls, could we get a little variation, please? It gets Shadow Ball, which is great, as well as Solar Beam and Dazzling Gleam via TM. But that's it! Everything else it learns is either Fire or Psychic! There's no variation! And that's why, even though I personally love it, it's so mid-tier.
Yeah, as special attackers go, there's certainly other starters out there who are a bit better at sealing the show.
Don't you mean stealing the show?
The Gen 7 starters to me, while maybe feeling a little less like animals in their final evolutions, had some of the most distinct personalities of any starters in the franchise. Take the Popplio line, for example.
Poppy is the arty, goofy class clown that grows up to be the prima donna from the Phantom of the Opera with the occasional bad hair day. And I think Breezy is actually very adorable and one of the better designed middle stages as opposed to the Egg Club. I love the designs for the whole line. The colors and aesthetics are pleasing, and the typing is excellent. Water Fairy is a special powerhouse, and the move pool is pretty decent, if a little narrow in what moves it learns naturally. It's just, of the 3 starters, Popplio is the least interesting. Compared to the angsty assassin and the comically brutish wrestling heel, a pretty opera singer is there.
As said by Ari just a second ago, Water Fairy is a great type combination, but what makes the Popplio line kinda weird to use in battle is the stat build. The 2 special stats are great, with literally every other stat being pretty mediocre. It's still a very viable Pokemon, mind you, but the unevenness of its stats makes it kinda inconsistent. Concept-wise, I think it's neat though. I love the performative gestures it does, like how it takes a bow at the end of Sparkling Aria.
A nice little closing gesture for the C tier, wouldn't you say?
On to B.
So, here we go. Finally, in the upper good graces, it's B tier. These are the solid ones. Pretty darn good no matter what type of player you are, but still not quite as king and god tier as the others. These are the beautiful princes and princesses of the Pokemans. So who's the first lighting fixture?
According to all known laws of aviation, there is no way a bee should be able to fly.
You've gotta be kidding me.
Gotta be kidding me?
I can't believe you.
Can't believe you.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Nice.
Now we're both going to hell, and I'll save you a seat.
Anyway, the next Pokemon on the tier list is Torchic.
Again, before y'all grab your tar and feathers, B tier is really good. We only have a few gripes with each of them. We shall start with the orange chicken plate with a side of fried rice.
Well, fine then. No lunch for you.
No, my orange is a beautiful sunrise chicken plate.
We really need to stop trying to eat the Pokemon.
The Torchic line was one of the first times we had a really good physical fire type. They tried to do it with Rapidash and Flareon, but they were never able to get the balance quite right. Torchic was kind of an overcorrection for the generation it came out in. It is such a good physical attacker that its fire typing in Gen 3 was almost negligible. Like, Blaze Kick for stab, but you were honestly better off giving it Brick Break, Rock Tomb, Aerial Ace, and Earthquake.
Its stat pool also kinda set it up to be a sweeper of some kind, but its natural speed is kinda in the middling range. On the topic of overcorrections though, oh my god, did it get way buffed after Gen 4. Not only getting the speed boost ability in Gen 5, but also getting a Mega Form in Gen 6. This big ol' bird boy basically skyrocketed up to the Uber tier and stayed firmly planted there forever, making it objectively one of the better starters competitively. Still B tier for us though.
And really, the rocky start is the only thing landing it here. It's amazing in all other respects. The design of the whole line is pretty cool and dynamic, even if I had no idea what his arms were supposed to be when I was little. And there's no Egg Club membership to be found. It's a really solid Pokemon. Now. But because that wasn't always the case, gotta put it lower. Plus, Wambu had trauma having to fight against his beloved Mudkip whenever he picked Torchic, so...
I mean, not to spoil the list or anything, but yeah, I can't do my boy like that. My only other nitpick on Blaziken is that for as good as it is, it's also remarkably straightforward. It does one thing very, very, very well, but it doesn't quite have the versatility to make me really love using it. You wanna know who does, though?
Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim chari. And here is the point where we must disagree. Wambu loves the monkey, but not dear Ari. So here is the lamp.
Oh, you mean me. And wait, you don't like Chimchar? But Monkey!
I don't even like them in movies, Wamboy. Just talk about Wukong the almighty hothead, and I'm gonna be over here filing or something.
Once again, we got another firefighting, but Infernape kinda took an opposite journey to Blaziken. With its debut in Gen 4, it was kinda the better version of Blaziken. It had better speed to really notch that sweeper roll this time, and its move pool was generally more versatile. With time, however, as Blaziken got absolutely bonkers buffs, Infernape mostly stayed the same, and while it's never been bad, it has unfortunately been slightly overshadowed. I still personally find it the funnest fire starter to take into battle, though. And with a design that references the Mandarin Monkey King Sun Wukong, I still find it to be one of the coolest looking fire starters, too. Maybe with that Gen 4 remake, Infernape will finally have its time to shine again.
I, on the other hand, had a very different experience. Infernape is an exceptionally versatile fighter, I wholeheartedly agree. But that meant I didn't know what the hell to do with him whenever I played. Somehow, no matter what I did with him, he always managed to be one of the weaker members of my team. Too much of a good thing is sometimes bad, and I've always held the opinion that the Chimchar line was one of those instances. Plus, I don't think Monferno's design was nearly as creative or cute as Middle Evolution's had been, and I was so burnt out already from the firefighting type. I wanted something new, like they did with Grass Ground Torterra and Water Steel Empoleon.
This was the biggest disparity between us, with me ranking Chimchar up in A, and Ari having him down in D. But luckily it won't happen again, right?
About that. Egg Club inductee number 3, come on down!
Hey, be nice to my little chipmunk with the beanie on its head. It's just going through some growing pains.
B tier is nice. Nicer than the original C I gave it. And I certainly did not give it C because of the Egg Club. That was in spite of it.
Okay, yeah, Quilladin sucks, but the rest of the line is cool.
I'll let you be wrong for a few more seconds so you can explain why.
You're a scoundrel. An absolute reprobate.
Tick-tock, Wambu!
I'll be real, I remember loving Chespin when the first form Gen 6 starters were revealed, but being sorta disappointed with its evolutions. But once first impressions were out of the way, Chestnut in particular grew on me quite a bit.
Like a mole.
I still have time! Anyway, it's actually a pretty solid and distinct physical wall, with access to decent utilities such as spikes, roar, synthesis, and leech seed. The 4x weakness to flying kinda sucks, but overall, I still think it performs its own role pretty well. Plus, its design definitely grew on me a lot, being the big, proud juggernaut of the Gen 6 starters. Pretty underrated boy, if you ask me. And time.
I will admit that Chestnut is a pretty solid physical wall, but this particular wall just kind of burns to ashes with one blast of my Delphox's flamethrower. Or God forbid I use a Talonflame, he never stood a chance! My issue is mainly with the typing. On the one hand, I like that Gen 6 was trying to do another sub-type triad like they did in Gen 4. But what irked me was they went for the double nuke triad instead of just reversing the fighting in the dark to make it balanced. That was so disappointing for me. And Chestnut really got shafted with this decision because of Grass's 5 weaknesses normally. Now it has 6, with a quad weakness to a common type.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Plus, Quilladin does look stupid.
Frick yes! It's President of the Egg Club! So, in case y'all haven't been around the Countdown community before, I have a thing for cats. Kitty Cuddles! He's so cuddly! Look at him! He's so cute and precious! And here is no exception. My favorite Alola starter, John Cena!
As I said in the Poplio entry, the Gen 7 starters are some of the most dynamic when it comes to sheer personality, and that's definitely true of the Litten line, who managed to transition from cute little house cat into a straight-up wrestling heel, while still having the decency to not be firefighting. Plus, we've got a bulky fire starter that actually has the stats to make it work. Goddamn bacon.
For me, as a newly converted wrestling fan, Incineroar was just... I cried when I saw his Z move for the first time, guys. I'm not gonna lie. He was everything I ever wanted in a fire starter, and it took this long to get him. Alola went ham on the starters' personalities, and Litten's is my favorite. Not to mention the fact that his move pool is pretty freaking sweet, and his stats, while more geared toward defenses, are still pretty balanced attack and speed-wise. My boy Chewbacca and I rip through island trials like my pupper rips through Tritos. It's a slaughter. And give him Leech Life, which got a much-needed boost, and then take all that damage you tanked back. Ugh, I love you, kitty kitty.
I do feel that the Litten line is my least favorite of this generation personally, but that more so speaks to my general enjoyment of all the Gen 7 starters, and less so any nitpicks I might have with Incineroar. I just wish it had more defensive options in its move pool. It might not be totally my thing personally, but it deserves the love it gets. I won't take that away from it. Hell, back when Gen 7 came out, it was pretty much objectively the subject of too much hate.
All those haters can get dunked on by Kenny Omega in a Sans costume. Fight me!
Sobble makes me wanna sobble.
Stop bullying my tadpole baby. He will snipe you to death when he grows up.
Literally grows up. Hi there, Gigantamax Sniper's Nest.
We talked about how Alola gave the starters personality, and that trend did continue a little into Galar. Grookey is a mischievous little toddler who likes to play drums on his mom's pots and pans. Scorbunny is the magnanimous jock who was really popular in high school but didn't peak, and Sobble's the ultimate glow-up. He goes from a whiny crybaby to a moody goth teenager to freaking 007. I love the story progression you get from his evolutionary line. And his signature move, Snipe Shot, is a freaking godsend in competitive because it ignores moves and abilities like Storm Drain. And it has a higher crit ratio. Oh my gosh!
I, on the other hand, just don't like this thing from an aesthetic standpoint at all. I guess it's for me what the Trico line is for you. Drizzile is pretty much the only one of the 3 stages I actually like, with Sobble being this wonky lizard that tries to make crying look cute, and Inteleon bordering on a sour spot of humanoid that just looks uncanny. If it wasn't for the fact that it's actually a pretty solid sweeper, in spite of its admittedly limited move pool, I probably wouldn't have conceded a B-tier placement for it so readily. I see the appeal, but nah, this just puts me way off.
I agree, Drizzile is my favorite one and looks like it listens way too much to early 2000s Fall Out Boy and Panic at the Disco, but I still like its viability in combat. The only downside I personally see is that you need a lot of TMs and TRs to make it viable because its natural moveset isn't very special oriented for a special attacker. Oh well, nobody's perfect. Except John Cena! Hitmontop, hooray! Oh, A tier!
Your skin is purple and you're still too white for that.
So, here we are, getting to the near-perfect champions of the starter world with absolutely no controversial placements here, none whatsoever.
Hate to break it to you, but duck.
You know, Wambu, it's an honor to die here with you.
Suck it, I'm already dead.
Love you too.
I think a lot of people have a sort of lingering resentment for the Charmander line, maybe due to a long history of elitist Gen 1 fans posturing Charizard as the cool Pokemon that Game Freak nowadays just can't match, and maybe due to the blatant favoritism Game Freak still gives it. Praising this line feels tired and normie, but we're still gonna do it. Ari, why do our opinions suck?
Because we can't cure cancer with opinions.
Right you are.
So I'm in the camp of, dear Lord, please stop with the Charizard love. It seems like nearly every time we get a new advancement in gameplay, Charizard gets it either first or better. Physical special split, Charizard gets special flying type moves and physical fire types moves to make it super viable in any situation. Mega Evolution and a free Gen 1 starter must give Charizard 2 Megas, which are both extremely good, even though one is blatantly better looking. Dynamax? No, Charizard can Gigantamax, and you can get one for free after you beat Leon. Cheese and crackers, Charizard is like that frat guy who just keeps getting the ladies even though he's not super interesting or anything.
If we're being fair, though, that may not be entirely Charizard's fault. Take away the obnoxious levels of pampering from both Game Freak and the fans, and the Charmander line is still cool. It's certainly my personal pick when it comes to Gen 1 starters. It's a solid sweeper with mostly balanced stats, and it looks pretty dope. It feels a bit lame to admit, but I like it. It's not my favorite Fire-type starter, though. This is.
Well, if you have crap opinions, I do too, because Cyndaquil is my second favorite fire starter, and I like it way more than Lizard Lips back there.
I think this is the point where our bias comes entirely into the forefront if it wasn't already there. I've talked about the competitive angle with a lot of these entries, but that shit's getting yeeted out the window this time. Typhlosion uses Eruption. It does big damage. It's all anyone does with this guy. I don't care. I adore this creature regardless.
It's a honey badger with a fire collar like freaking Elton John. Who wouldn't love it? The lackluster competitiveness is what brings it down from S tier, but everything else about it gets it to A. The design, while a little simple, is clean and straightforward while still being freaking cute. It can fit well into any playstyle with its well-rounded stats and weirdly decent speed. It makes the Gen 2 games it appears in pretty easy, except for Whitney. Screw you, picky poop! And it's just so huggable! And Josh loves it too, so it's 3 against all of you, we win.
It's a damn awesome Pokemon, and if there's any justice in this world, Game Freak will one day give it enough buffs to emerge from the ashes and assert its dominance, croc-a-mother-f***ing Toa style. Until then, I'm happy to keep vouching for it.
Also, can I has plush? Please? Like a big ol' 18-inch plush with or without the fire, like, now? Ah! My first Gen 2 starter, Gatorade, is mine!
Did you say you wanted Gatorade?
Wambu,
Yeah?
you know what to do.
Like a football coach?
Like a football coach.
Yeah!
For real though, I called him Gatorade. I was a very original child. Totodile is the classic case of desperately needed the physical special split because its attack stat was way better than its special stat. Yet it was a special type attacker that learned special moves. Do we see the problem here? Ice Punch, special even though it's a punch. Waterfall, special. Bite, it's dark type so it's special. They knew they were making a water type, right?
I think they did because it's blue.
Yeah, true, blue Pokemon are water types. But it was an early indication that Game Freak knew that they wanted to split the moves. They just couldn't yet. Also, I love Feraligator's name. They still have never put a vowel in between the T and the R because in the original games there was a character limit. I just love Totodile's quirks and weirdness. It filled a weird role in the Gen 2 games. Resisted a lot, but could damage things weirdly. I don't know.
I named my first Totodile Butter.
Why?
Wambabu had no rationale for doing anything. Anyway, the Totodile line is just a very functional physical sweeper, with good physical stats and a really nice complementary ability in sheer force. Plus, since its stats are decently well-rounded, it's not a super frail Pokemon by any means, which is refreshing for a sweeper. Plus, it's just this straightforwardly cool, tough gator. In contrast to what I said about the Gen 7 starters, the Gen 2 starters felt very committed to feeling like animals. They might not have the same visual flair as future starters, but there's definitely charm in keeping things simple sometimes.
Except with this next guy, because now we start getting into the complex designs. Butter, really?
Yuppers.
So, how are we going to start this? Should we make a March of the Penguins joke? A Happy Feet joke?
How about both? Morgan Freeman, tap dancing?
Please no. I have enough nightmares about him farting.
He fart?
Penguins! It's Piplup, everybody!
I pretty much love all the Gen 4 starters, and while Piplup is my personal least favorite one, I still have to admire how cool and genuinely inventive it was for its time. I remember taking one look at that little penguin babu back in 2006 and going, oh, okay, a water ice starter. Neat. But no, we got what remains to be the only water steel Pokemon, and honestly, I'm cool with that.
Cool with it. Yup.
Ah, shut up.
Giving a water type a steel subtype makes it so much bulkier, allowing it to be immune to poison and damaged normally by only 3 types at the time. Sure, you add in a couple weaknesses, but being resistant to 11 types was a real boost and made your water starter even more viable. Give it moves like Surf, Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, and Stealth Rock, and you have a terrifying bundle of power. But it's a special attacker, and Gen 4 only had one special steel move, which it could only learn via TM. It's an easily obtainable TM, but still, you can maybe have a Lucario you want to put it on. Rawr!
Flash Cannon or no, though, Empoleon has a surprising amount of tools at its disposal, like buffs, entry hazards, phasing moves, and more. It's a good special attacker to be sure, but it has a number of niches it can fill, which is definitely needed when you're working with a measly 60 base speed.
And I gotta say, I really love the way it looks. The crown is imposing. They kind of have the typical penguin tuxedo thing going on there. Looks pretty freaking boss. The only real critique I have is that it can't decide whether its base color is black or dark blue. Make up your minds!
Well, you see, Ari, Empoleon is a large navy blue penguin-like Pokemon. It has a wide yellow beak that extends...
Next one, please!
I hope you paid up your workplace insurance, Ari.
Why's that? Oh no.
Wouldn't want you guys to violate any OSHA regulations.
I see why Sparky hates you. First off, its voice in the anime is the best Pokemon voice ever of all time. And it's mine! Secondly, the Oshawott line fills a different niche than most other water-type starters, or water types in general, have ever filled. It's a kind of fragile mixed attacker with okay speed, rather than a bulky special attacker with morbidly obese speed. Yes, I'm talking about you, children! You can come out of your rooms now! And considering its move pool spanning both kinds of attacks, it's pretty good at what it does.
Plus, design-wise, this kicks ass. I've been studying Japanese for quite a while now, so Oshawott picking up the way of the samurai as it evolves definitely hit a personal soft spot for me. What's that?
Nothing.
But yeah, I love this. I could maybe do without all the facial hair, but the stoic demeanor, the way it sheathes its sword using its own shells, that's just perfect.
Oh my gosh, its Pokedex entry calls the swords scimitars. You guys do love us.
Honestly, I kind of want to put it in S now.
What if we put it in C-matier?
Never mind, A is fine.
So, Wambu, I hears you don't like Gen 8 Pokemons all that much. Why don't you just tell me all about it?
I have no idea what this bit is, but I like it, so maybe I wills. You just sit tight, little bambina. See, the Gen 8 starters follow a design philosophy that I'm really not all that big a fan of, where the Pokemon kinda deviate from being animals and become more anthro-humanoid than anything. Cinderace unfortunately fits this to a T, but to its credit, it's not nearly as uncanny as something like Inteleon. And if we're trying to be fair, Cinderace is still the easy pick for me when it comes to the starters, and competitively, it's actually really good.
Cinderella here has a really amazing design and stats, making it handily one of the best physical sweepers in the generation, with moves that buff its speed and hit really freaking hard. Its signature move, Pyro Ball, is a cinematic spectacle whenever it is used. And for such a powerful move, it's pretty accurate too. Also, there's the Libero ability, which is basically just Protean again, so see you in Uber tier, I guess. Overall though, Score Bunny is really freaking cute. Cinderace is a little basic, but a very cohesive concept, and—
No, I talk about the emo bunny with the sweatshirt from Hot Topic.
Fine, yeesh, go right ahead, gosh.
Raboot is a sweet, valid little introverted baby, and I love him. Technically, my criticisms of Cinderace apply to Raboot as well, but I like it better in this case because I feel related to this little creature. Little guy just has this nice, chill energy about him, and I hella vibe with it. It's kinda weird to say, and it may be a little mean-spirited to Cinderace, but I kinda wish you stayed in your emo phase.
Okay, you have passed the tests. Wanna listen to My Chemical Romance with Raboot?
You got it, boss.
After all this time, here we are at the best of the best, the final tier. S tier.
The S is for sus. They're imposters. Vote them off.
No, not my precious Bulby!
Bulby?
Yes, Bulby baby. My first ever Pokemon, the one that still holds my heart, and my favorite grass type of all time. That Bulby. Plus he's super duper cute in the comics too. Look at that and tell me it's not the most precious bean on the planet. Tell me.
I can't. It's true. Being real here, the Bulbasaur line is not my favorite Kanto starter. Charmander is. But I'm not so cruel that I would snub Ari's baby from S tier, especially when the love for the Bulbasaur line is pretty well deserved. The Grass Poison typing is distinct for starters even to this day, its stats and move pool are pretty well rounded, and as Ari has gone over, it's just an endearing little baby.
Bulbasaur is unique. It was the first, and for 6 generations, only starter to have 2 types in its base form, and it started the wave of bulky grass types. All other grass starters strive to live up to its legacy, and only a couple have. Even its speed is pretty decent for a grass type, which gives it diverse competitive options. Need a tank? Venusaur. Need a special damage dealer? Venusaur. Need a weather-based monster? Venusaur. And the Mega and Gigantamax versions of it make it even more viable in recent generations.
Yeah, it was pretty broken with Chlorophyll in the Weather Wars of Generation 5, but the additions of the new mechanics have let him keep up with new darlings like Greninja, Aegislash, and Mimikyu.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
So, you said Bulby Boy is your favorite grass starter?
Grass type, but basically yes.
Wanna see mine?
Bad touch!
Competitive viability be damned. Deadass, I've loved the Turtwig line since I first laid eyes on it. Especially Torterra. It's a turtle with a continent on its back. It's pretty much the coolest thing ever. But unfortunately, I think most people kinda dismissed it when they saw this. Yeah, that kinda hurts. I still think people tend to underrate this guy though. His stats are actually pretty good, with speed being the only one that's kinda on the lower end. With just 1 rock polish though, he can be a dangerous sweeper. Everyone underestimates the Titanic Turtle until it ends up curb stomping their team.
I loved the concept from the moment I saw him too. Turtwig is my second favorite grass starter, and I think my favorite ground type. He honestly reminded me of Terry Pratchett's Discworld series, the turtle carrying the elephants carrying the world on their backs. It was fascinating, and I loved the typing because hot dang, a starter getting stabbed on Earthquake and naturally learning the move? Yes, mama, sign me up! I can't even! The Gen 4 starters were strokes of genius in design, concept, and typing, and the Turtwig line exemplifies that most clearly.
How crazy is it that to this day, 2 of the 3 starters from Gen 4 have unique types?
It could have been all 3, but the stupid monkey had to ruin it.
You leave the monkey alone. The monkey is a darling.
He could have been Firefly using his acrobatics to his advantage, or maybe Fire Electric since Wukong is of the sky. Come on, he failed!
On a much less controversial note, an amazing Pokemon that everyone loves that deserves all the acclaim it's gotten. The very first time I saw Greninja, I fell in love with it in such a profound way that I actively wanted everyone else to love it too. I told myself that in a just world, this creature would be one of the most popular Pokemon ever, and it delights me to no end that it actually reached that level of universal praise. If any Pokemon deserved to be this beloved, it was definitely my beautiful, freaky Frankenfrog.
I will admit, I do have a teeny bit of Charizard-esque burnout because of how prolific he's gotten with his inclusion in Smash and his overpowered at the time ability Protean, but he does deserve his acclaim. He is so exceptionally different, with only 2 other families sharing its type and neither as good as it, and his design is sleek and fascinating. A frog ninja? What? I don't think anyone was expecting how slick Froakie was going to turn out to be, but thank goodness it did.
Ari, don't make me defend Sharpedo, because I will absolutely die on this hill.
Big fish with teeth.
You're hurting me real deep, but I'ma let it go for now. I will admit that the Protean ability is a little cheeky, like, it gets stab on every move, because it just becomes any type. That feels kinda like cheating. It's certainly been the trick to keeping it so consistently viable competitively, but even with that, it seems like everyone really connected with the cool creative design. A long tongue scarf really should be a whole lot less badass than it is. Eat your heart out, Licky Licky. He's a cute little ball boy. I want to squish.
Think you brought my Hogwarts letter, Wamboy?
The only letter on this little guy is the S-tier placement for being an adorable squish boy.
Rowlet is part of the club of starters that begin with 2 types, but unlike Venusaur, his typing changed for its final form, Decidueye. This line has my second favorite concept for the Gen 6 starters. A sharpshooting owl ghost is just Robin Hood levels of awesome. But I probably should let the fanboo gush about one of his favorite Pokemon of all time.
I'm happy about this. Owlet is such a sweet little boy, but I've definitely had times where evolutionary lines kinda lose me as they evolve. This line didn't lose me, though. In fact, it straight up pandered to me. Decidueye drops the flying type in favor of Ghost, and the stoic hooded ranger archetype wins me over so quickly. Topped with an awesome signature move in Spirit Shackle, and yeah, this thing is damn near exactly my taste.
I also have to give a special shout out to its shiny form. We haven't talked about those at all yet, but Decidueye's shiny is fantastic. The dark green hood and the black cape are both just spot on. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the final member of the Egg Club. Dartrix, you are every emo pretty boy I hated in high school, but I can't legitimately be mad at you. Your parents just don't understand your deep poetry and your evanescence obsession. I understand.
Those of you who have been paying attention to the way we've been ordering this list might have noticed a strange little discrepancy, and that's because, as it turns out, in spite of all of our disagreements, Ari and I actually share a favorite starter.
And I don't think it will surprise anyone when we reveal our Anything Goes tier winner!
Mudkip!
When I was little, I was starting to slowly slip away from enjoying video games. I heard that there was another Pokemon game coming out, and this one was a pretty ruby color and had a girl trainer, so I'm all on board for old time's sake. And then, I saw a little fish, puppy, thing come out of a Pokeball, and I fell in love with my Sammy. This love has persisted ever since, and I still have him. Sammy can never be replaced, and I can never play a Gen 3 game without one of his clones.
Agreed. I've said for years that Hoenn has a very good selection of starters, but if I want to not kid myself, that's mainly because of Mudkip. Seriously, I pretty much can't pick either of the other two. I'll break out in mental hives. As I said at the beginning of the video, you never forget your first. And with Sapphire being my first mainline Pokemon game, guess which adorable, memeable little mudskipper ended up being exactly that for me. On a side note, I named my Mudkip Sentry, which is marginally better than butter.
And I can't spread sentries on my toast.
But you can't shoot bullets using butter.
The Mudkip line has one of the best type combinations in the series, only having a grass weakness. Watson, Flannery, Tate and Liza, and Steven can pretty much do nothing against them. and that Mega. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love Hulk Hogan's new look. Blue is a good color on him.
Swampert is such a consistently reliable Pokemon, even if it's never necessarily been top tier or anything. Thanks to overall solid stats across the board, a great typing, and a move pool that gives it plenty of offensive options alongside good utility. If you need an offensive or defensive tank, it has plenty of tools at its disposal.
I mean, it has the highest stat total, if only by 1 point, of any starter to exist. And it has the dopiest smile. Just look how adorable. I sincerely can't think of anything bad to say about it.
This might be a cliche line to drop, like incredibly cliche, but Mudkip is just a complete package. It's adorable, it's useful, it's consistent, it's iconic, it's super memeable, just an overall wonderful Pokemon whose existence makes the Pokemon world a much better place. My favorite starter, my favorite Gen 3 Pokemon, my favorite water Pokemon of all time, all 3 categories, swept by a cute little mudfish.
Ah, it's over. Finally over.
Yeah, fun times were had by all. Hopefully. Anyway, I'm gonna go back in the box. Can you mail me back to Pottery Barn?
But my interior decorations, the souls of the innocent you can suck out.
Just get a chandelier that isn't sentient but can still kill your enemies. Pottery Barn has some surprising things in their stock. Besides, I've been looking into getting a new teapot for ages now, cause ya boy is thirsty for some goddamn chamomile.
You have come to the right spot. Welcome to the club, bitch. Now you're stuck. On Wednesdays, we wear pink.